So, after the controversial video of me calling Gen 2 trash, we have Pokemon Emerald, released for the Game Boy Advance in the year 2004. Man, that's still before I was born. And this game is what I've lovingly dubbed the beginning of peak Pokemon. And with that much more agreed upon opinion, let's get right into it. But just one reminder that I'm ranking these games on gameplay, visuals, and music. Once again, we begin the game meeting a professor, except unlike last time, it's actually this game's professor. We then get shrunken down and are in the back of a moving van. After leaving the van, my mom sends me to my room to grab my stuff, and I go to the neighbor's house to meet Brendan, my rival for this game, and an actually likable one for a change. After leaving Brendan's house, I go help Birch survive this feral Zigzagoon, so I reach into his bag and pull out Mudkip, who I named Big Stepper. And surprisingly, for the first time, we don't get child labor shoved onto us immediately, and he instead sends us to go find Brendan, who's going to show us the ropes as our first trainer battle in this game. I easily take out Brendan's Trico, return to Birch's lab, and then he sends us on our way with the Pokédex. Now that I've started my journey, it's time to catch my first team member, a Lotad who I name Enrique, because look at Ludicolo. I rush through the next route and meet up with my dad, who's currently parenting another child better than he parents me, and he sends me with that same child to help him catch a Pokemon. After that, I immediately go to the forest and catch my third team member, a Shroomish, who I named Shrek. This name I've got no justification for, just felt right. Deeper into the forest, I run into someone who's in a fight with an evil Team Aqua guy. I immediately die fighting him, but we run it back and I take him out easily with Big Steppa. After saving that businessman, I go to Rustboro, easily clear through Roxanne with Mudkip, and Big Steppa becomes an even bigger Steppa. Moving on, I have another run-in with Team Aqua after they steal this old guy's bird. So I run in, take him out, return the bird to the old man, and end up in the Devon office since the president wants to speak with me. He gives me a letter to deliver to his son, Steven, and also gives me a cell phone. On the way out of Rustboro, Brendan asks to battle me, but I just nope right out of there and take the next ship to Dewford so I can go fight Brawly. And in this fight, everyone actually contributes. Enrique absorbed the Machop till his last breath. Man, Lombre kinda sucks. So I sent out Shroomish to Stunspore, and then Mega Drained the Machop to finish him off. The Meditite actually can't hit you if you always attack, so I use Shroomish to kill him as well, and then Stunspore and Leech Seed to chip at the Makuhita, before eventually finishing him off with Marshtomp. With Brawly defeated, I do my standard cheating in of a Mew for HMs, I go through Granite Cave to deliver the letter to Steven, go to Slate Porch, where on the beach I fought literally every trainer except the one I was looking for, the trainer that gives Soft Sand. Now that I'm done with that, and in Slate Port proper, I talk to Captain Stern to trigger Team Aqua in the museum, clear them out with no issue. Their leader comes in and gives away his whole evil plan. He says that since all life depends on the sea, Team Aqua is dedicated to expanding it. Continuing on the route above, it's time to fight Brendan, which was pretty easy. I lead Lombre to fake out the Slugma, switch to Swampert for the kill, switch out of Swampert since I got yawned, fake out the Grovyle, paralyze it with Stunspore, and then let my Shroomish die, and then fake out the Grovyle again and Astonish to Paraflinch it. For Wingull, it's pretty easy to just tackle on Marshtomp and win the whole fight. Then we go to Mauville and meet the funniest character in all of Pokemon. The Rock Smash dude! After clearing out the nearby route, it's time to destroy Wally's poor little dreams. I feel so bad for him. With a singular Bullet Seed, I kill his Ralts, and he leaves on his way. As for Watson, let's be honest. I picked Mudkip. Is anybody expecting this to be a difficult fight? I just click Mudshot through his entire team. It was after this fight I became aware with an issue of my team. I've got 2 water types, 2 grass types. How did I fix this issue in team building? I got even more type overlap by catching Numel. But at least is a fire type, but that just gives me another ground type on my team. Anyway, I name him Manny. I then reunite a couple in the Verdant Turf Tunnel, pick up Cut since I forgot it the first time in this city, and went through the Fiery Path to Route 112, 113. And can I just say, Route 113 is one of the coolest routes in all of Pokemon. The falling ash looking like snow and clearing off the plants as you walk through it is amazing design. Now on to Meteor Falls. It's at this point I realize that this part of the game is just a sprint through routes. At Meteor Falls, I have an encounter with Team Magma who stole a meteorite for some nefarious reasons, and we quickly find out what that reason is. At the peak of Mount Chimney, they plan to use the meteorite to erupt the volcano, so I put a stop to them. And now it's time for Flannery. I spent way too long in the gym maze before looking up a map, and then I ended up leading a grass type into a fire type gym leader. I Mach Punch the Numel, and it misses an overheat, After Camerupt comes in, I accidentally click Leech Seed and Breloom dies because of it. So I send out Marshtomp and he takes out Camerupt with 2 mugshots, and Slugma goes down the exact same way. Torkoal took a bit longer to kill because of the heals, but more of the same killed it eventually. And after leaving the gym, Brendan gives us the Sylph Goggles, which lets me get the next team member, the undisputed GOAT of Gen 3 Pokemon. Now it's time to fight Norman, my father, which the Pokemon community has all collectively agreed to abandon the player to fight children with grown smelly gorillas. Spin does nothing but an inconvenience. It lives on 1 health from a Mach Punch, and then teeter dances, but it dies to 2 more Mach Punches. Vigoroth goes down to 1 Mach Punch, and Linoone clicks Belly Drum, but since it got below half health, the move fails. Then it dies the next turn. For slacking, I decided to go with stall strats. I paralyzed, then leech seeded, got fucked up by a counter, sent out Trapinch to click Sand Tomb to stack damage over time, and then Bite to hit the flinches, which eventually defeats Norman. With Surf unlocked, I can now explore the other half of the region. The game really does open up here. So on this nice trip over the ocean, I realize I've got nothing for flying types, and the next gym leader's flying. I decide to postpone solving that issue for a later date, and go to New Mauville instead. It's on the way to New Mauville that I speed through New Mauville, obtain Thunderbolt, and then now it's immediately back to worrying about what team member I'm going to use. And I decided it would be Walrein. Then didn't figure out how to get Walrein before this gym, so that's a big issue. But before that issue, I gotta talk to this NPC. And he says he thought flying was holding on to a flock of bird Pokemon. And when you go into his house... Anyway, continuing into the Weather Institute gives us another encounter with Team Aqua and a gifted Castform. Now, I'm going to spare you the misery that was the 6 failed Winona attempts, and instead just tell you that Hailform Castform was the solution to all my issues, and then it immediately got shoved back into the box. After that fight, Mushu evolved, and I decided to go on a shopping spree at the department store, getting much needed TMs, getting a Water Stone to evolve Ludicolo, and also finally deciding on my 6th team member, an Absol who I named Shadow because this meme has been stuck in my head for weeks.
I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker. He pissed on my fucking wife. That's right. He took his hedgehog fucking quilly dick out and he pissed on my fucking wife and he said his dick was this big.
Anyway, back to the plot. It's up to Mount Pyre for another encounter with Team Aqua, who's just laid their hands on the red orb because, sure, the red orb will be used to resurrect the blue Pokemon. Then it's time to clear Team Magma out of their hideout, which I do with ease, but not until after a rant about Tabitha. Okay, hold on. So this is Magma admin Tabitha. I gotta talk about this for a second. Because this is what Tabitha looks like in the remakes. There's so much wrong with this, first of all. The shoes, the socks, the pants, and the t-shirt are all the same, one suit material. That isn't, look at this. This is not what that looks like. I don't know what happened in the remakes versus it's bad. It's awful. After that rant, I fight Maxie because he uses the blue orb on Groudon, and apparently that pissed the ground dragon off and he ran away. Now it's time to do the exact same thing but with the other evil team. I clear out the Aqua hideout, but Archie gets away in a submarine. And before I chase him down, it's absolutely imperative that I fight Tate and Liza, which was easy. I just put my 2 surf users in the lead and spam that shit. And now Team Magma's taken over the Space Center, so I go in with Steven and we clear them out. And by we, I mean me. Steven didn't do jack shit to help. Afterward, he gives me dive, and now we go back to chasing Archie. Archie says something about wanting to realize his dream, and then I crush that entire dream, but not before he activates the red orb, and this sends Archie into a crisis because why did Kyogre disappear? Fucking dumbass. So, we go to Sidopolis to catch the 2 legendary brothers fighting, and then go to get their dad to make them stop. And now that I, a 10-year-old girl, have prevented the end of the world, it's time to get my last gym badge. Juan was a bit of a problem. I didn't have any good grass moves on the team, and I decided to leave Absol boxed, but learning from my mistake, I brought him and evolved my Vibrava into a Flygon. The second time around, Ludicolo kills with 3 Bullet Seeds, I paralyzed the Kingdra with Breloom, and then Perish Song with Absol. I did that because if Kingdra sets up double teams, he'll be forced to switch out and reset the evasion boosts. So I switch to Marshtomp to get what damage I can, and end up killing Crawdaunt when he switches out. Then I go back to Absol and Parasong again, winning the battle. And all that's left is the Victory Road and Hoenn Elite Four. Right at the entrance to Victory Road, Wally appears, the sickly kid from so long ago. He is going to fight me to prove that his Pokemon give him the strength, courage, and will to fight. He will not lose. Anyway, he lost. Now it's Elite Four time. I teach my Pokemon some moves and level them for the fight ahead, and buy some full restores and revives just in case. And I do the same thing like the last two games, where I try and dedicate one Pokemon to each Elite Four member, but that doesn't go so well here. The Elite Four begins with Sydney, the Dark-type leader. I try to Sky Uppercut his whole team, but since I got Sand attacked after killing the Mightyena, I switched to Swampert and then back to Breloom, who gets murdered by an Aerial Ace that I didn't know it had. So it's time to steer this ship hard. I switch to my own Absol and click Thunderbolt before dying. Then Sydney gets greedy and goes for the third Swords Dance, so Earthquake takes him out. I send out Camerupt for Cacturne, who one-shots it, then the Ludicolo Fake-Outs, and Bullet Seeds Crawdaunt for a clean kill. Last is Shiftry, who goes down to one Overheat Camerupt before he can get too many double teams off. Up next is Phoebe, which immediately goes wrong. I forgot to lead with Absol, who would have been the perfect counter, so I switch him in and spam Bite, hoping to hit through the Protects. I do, and then I do the exact same thing to Banette, but because it used Grudge, I have no more Bite PP. So I switched to Swampert and Earthquake the Sableye and the Banette, and then I tried to fake out the Dusclops, forgetting it was a Ghost type, so I got as much damage as I could before dying, and then Camerupt came out to get the kill. Third is Glacia, which was a hard fight for me because most of her Ice types are Water types. I get around this by just using Swampert to Earthquake Hercelio, Ludicolo to Fake Out, and then Surf the Glalie. I go to Absol for Walrein and click Thunderbolt, and it's over. Finally is Drake. Now, I should have brought an Ice type for this, but I wasn't that smart. What I was smart enough to do was teach Blizzard to Swampert. So I use that against Sheldon, I use Manny to kill the Altaria, I go back to Flygon for his Flygon, and use Dragon Breath twice to kill. I get damage with Ludicolo before it dies, but I end up reviving Absol with it. I send out Breloom to Stun Spore the Absol, and get some more damage, which ends up killing it. And for Drake's last Pokemon, I use Parasong on Absol, and switch around my team to wait it out. Now it's time for the champion Wallace. And rather than tell you about the champion fight, let me tell you how I spent 17 minutes with Wallace. I had a set strat that I wanted to do, which was Calm Mind on Absol and sweep with Thunderbolt. But Absol fucking sucks, so that didn't work. I used more healing items in this one fight than I ever have in my entire career playing Pokemon. I used 26 full restores and 22 revives, and it was not a fun time. If you want to see the full fight, it'll be on my replay channel because holy shit, it was bad. But after spending 17 minutes in hell with Wallace, I finally became the Hoenn champion and my team enters the Hall of Fame. Man, what can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? It's a 7.8 out of 10. Too much water. Seriously though, this game is amazing, and I'm sure everyone can agree with that. I don't even know where to start, but I guess I'll just start with the story. In Emerald, the story is a little cluttered with two evil teams, but Ruby and Sapphire do it perfectly. It's two evil teams who have two set goals, both opposites of each other, and each of the evil teams have different Pokemon, trainers, and designs that really show the extra effort went into them. And the conclusion to the evil team storyline being that they might have been wrong even if they were trying to do good for humanity. It's great. The gym challenge feels a lot more engaging in this game, especially with events that space out the gyms, and especially with stuff like Norman, a gym leader, being your dad. It gives character and world building that's much appreciated in this game. The visuals are peak. The world design is absolutely beautiful. The jump to the Game Boy Advance gave the Pokemon team the memory and processing power to do stuff like decorate the houses and have grand buildings and even cutscenes. It allowed for more unique trainer design, Pokemon design, and even a little stuff in the visuals like a decorated UI for the bag and the box. All these little things add so much to the game and it feels wonderful. And I would say the environment is the best thing about Hoenn. Having Hoenn be sectioned off into biomes with unique Pokemon for each biome was a wonderful decision, and all these biomes are beautiful. Hoenn is usually known for its ocean, but the volcanoes and deserts and forests add so much character to the region. Rather than it being one climate like Kanto or Johto, it's very diverse. And like I talked about earlier, even interactive stuff like the volcanic ash on Route 113, clearing when you walk through the grass, is an amazing visual decision that adds just a little bit of character to the game. Another thing, this game is a great point of entry for people who've never played Pokemon. If you played Gen 1 now, it feels ancient, and if you play Gen 2 without playing Gen 1, you're kind of missing out. With the technical innovation, this is a great place to start, and there's even a version of Kanto in Gen 3 that I would say is an even better place to start. Kanto tends to be easier and has a ton of iconic Pokemon that will make your experience wonderful. Speaking of, let's talk about the Pokemon. With 135 new Pokemon, most of them being unique from any past Pokemon, the exceptions being Wynaut and Azuro. It feels much more unique. Every new encounter is a surprise waiting to happen, with 99% of the Pokemon that surprise is amazing. Every Pokemon in this game is either badass or cool or cute. Even some of the Pokemon that I would call stinkers in design, like Feebas, have a point. Feebas's whole thing is that it's ugly and unmemorable, but becomes beautiful and turns into the majestic Milotic. I would go as far as saying not a single Pokemon in this game is a miss. Not the starters, not the legendaries, and none of the Pokemon in between. Now, let's talk about gameplay. The gameplay mechanics are still pretty standard for Pokemon. A few new moves, but this is the first big jump in minor mechanics that add up to greatness. Unique backgrounds for where the battle is taking place, the overworld weather that can affect your in-game weather, and the big one. Abilities entirely vary how some of the Pokemon are used. Natures completely change your Pokemon and makes your specific Pokemon you catch even more unique. And then double battles. If I had to say any singular addition to the Pokemon games are the best, it would be double battles. Not only are double battles just a novel concept, being able to see two of your Pokemon on the field at once, but it's also the bedrock of what competitive Pokemon became. And competitive has a worldwide effect right now that can't be understated. Double battles are an amazingly fun gameplay mechanic in both PvE and PvP. And lastly, for the gameplay section, I want to talk about leveling. It was something I shit on Gen 2 for a lot, and that was horrible level and Pokemon distribution. I'm happy to say it's better here. There are some weird moments in level, like Team Magma at the Space Center being a lower level than Tate and Liza, even though you have to beat Tate and Liza first. But for the most part, the levels are way better, and since almost every Pokemon is new, the gym leaders feel a lot more unique. One exception. Watson, for some reason, doesn't use any new electric types in Ruby and Sapphire. They fixed this mistake in Emerald, but his Ruby team makes no sense. At this point in the game, you can see Plusle, Minun, and Electrike at least. His Emerald team is perfect and should be the team he uses everywhere. And finally is the music. With actual world-devastating events and fights, the composers flex their music muscles and cooked. The Mount Pyre / Shoal Cave music is just an example. My favorite example of fire music is Deoxys' theme. And having more storage space allowed for more music, so we got music for unique trainer classes. This gives some of the trainers such a unique feeling when you go from fighting this, these upbeat and energetic beginner trainers, to these. More elegant and a bit slower, but still an upbeat theme. And they somehow made this music feel feminine. I don't know how they did that. It feels like something I'd hear in a relaxed coffee shop kind of vibe. And one last thing before we get to our rankings. I have a feeling because this game is so iconic and so amazing, visually, mechanically, and sonically, that's the reason that this game gets so many iconic ROM hacks made for this game. Emerald, Kaizo, and Run and Bun are two examples of people who love this game so much they poured hours in just to make the game harder for people who still want to play Hoenn but an added challenge. Now it's time for the rankings. Gameplay is a 10 out of 10. The plot, the mechanics, and new gameplay additions feel better than ever. The visuals are a 10 out of 10. As I said, Pokemon design is peak. City design is peak, trainer design is peak, and music is a 10 out of 10. The music allows you to completely immerse yourself in the world better than ever and adds so much to the experience. What more can I say than that? This leaves the game at a 30 out of 30, plus 1 point for the improvements being so good over the first two gens, for an even better than perfect score of 31 out of 30 and an S tier rating.